everybody. Welcome. You're on the line, and this is a new episode of Hostility. I'm Matt Dillahunty. Joining me, Mandisa Thomas. How are you?
Hey, Matt. Hello, everyone. I am doing well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So good to see you. And there's a ton of stuff going on. I'm going to set aside announcements for the line, but I do want to point out that the phone lines, in fact, are open. We will be taking calls. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on. I'm going to turn this over to Mandisa fairly quickly with regard to the details of what's going on. Mandisa Thomas is the founder and president of Black Nonbelievers. You know her very well. We've had her on many times as a guest and on the various shows, and do what we can to be promotional and supporting Black Nonbelievers. But Black Nonbelievers in March of 2025, March 21st through 23rd, is going to be putting on the Revival of Reason, the Homecoming Conference in Morrow, Georgia. I know there's a graphic somewhere. We'll go through all the details for everything else. We are partially here, mostly here, to make sure we announce that, get information out to people, and promote that as well. But we are taking calls, just like we do all the time here on the line. And so if you're someone who believes in a God and wants to defend it, or if you are confused or concerned about, what's going on, why would we need a Black Nonbelievers group? That's a really quick answer to give, but it might not be quick and easy for you to grasp or grok right off the bat. If you want to find out about the individuals who are going to be speaking at this, all of that information is available. Call in, have fun with us. But right now, Mandisa, how are you? And what did I just get wrong? Because I know I got something wrong.
Matt, you absolutely got nothing wrong.
There you go.
I am
Cut that out, make it a
really,
clip.
Yes. You absolutely got nothing wrong. You're good.
Give everybody the deets on the Revival of Reason. We can talk a little bit about who's going to be there. And then if we can, we kind of lead up to the to eventually to your keynote speaker, and we'll talk more about that person as well. I'm going to be watching the call queue, but how many? So you've done a number of different conventions that Black Nonbelievers has spotted or sponsored and promoted. Is this the first of the Revival of Reason ones?
It is. The Revival of Reason is very much in line with the type of events that BN does, right? We like to incorporate a lot of education, a lot of information, and a lot of fun into everything that we do, because that represents liberation for atheists, humanists, and non-believers, but we unapologetically represent Black culture, which is open to everyone. I mean, that is something that we do. And we came up with the Revival of Reason. It was sort of modeled after like your Christian revivals, which are usually like 3 or 2.5 days of just singing, praise, worship. There's a lot of, events that are usually under a tent that revolve around food, that revolve around, I guess, like Christian pastors and such. But this is going to be similar to, but certainly not exactly the same. We are starting off with a Friday night cookout, which will include a spades tournament. I'm not sure if you play spades, Matt, but if you do, that would be fantastic.
Like I don't. Let's pretend like I don't. And I won't tell the stories of how my brother and I would just own people while we were in the Navy playing spades. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, nice. Yeah, so we're going to have a spades tournament that Friday night.
Y'all play with bags?
That's different. I will tell you who is a really good spades player, one of our speakers, Chris Cameron. And, I'm not going to put him on the spot because, he owned us on last year's CCon. He really did. He's not, I'm just going to put that out there.
I might come just to hang out and play cards.
Yeah, he was, I mean, he bodied us in spades on last year's CCon. And so, yes, we might be playing with bags. Of course, the rules of spades vary. just as long as you aren't, of course, the one thing that doesn't vary are people who renege. And of course, that those are fighting terms. If you've ever
Yep.
been in the middle of a spades game and you don't play well, that's it gets emotional. it gets very emotional, but it is all in fun, and
Yeah.
it's good for people to at least have that experience of knowing how to play, knowing how
It's
to
so
play
much.
spades. And uh-huh.
No, it's so much fun. So, I mean, I've been playing cards and everything my entire life. My family used to have euchre tournaments. But when I was in the Navy, if you heard hooting and hollering and shit slamming on the table, somebody was either playing spades or dominoes,
Uh-huh.
and you couldn't tell by the people's noise. You had to wait till those bones hit the board versus somebody slapping, that's my trick. That's my trick. That ain't your trick. That's my trick. You'd have to listen to what's going on. I might come just for that.
Yeah. And we also wanted to model it after like a university homecoming. The historically Black colleges and universities they have their homecoming weekends. It's full of bands, it's full of music, it's just full of it's a really good hangout time. And it is a homecoming of reason. And this year it's going to be needed with everything that we are facing. That is with this current administration, that is the incoming administration. It's still going to be important for us to provide information, community support, and ways that we can uplift each other while we continue to mobilize and fight. And this is going to be just a weekend of us, encouraging people, letting them know how they can get more involved, religious trauma recovery. We are planning to have Godless Gospel there. We're actually going to have other entertainers there as well, and other speakers. It's just going to be a fantastic time. We're going to have a homecoming ball. So these are just, and it's always an important and fantastic opportunity to engage with fellow non-believers in person, especially people of color,
Yes.
no matter who you are. And to be involved with a BN event is special. Anybody who's ever been to one of our events, they always come away feeling much more invigorated and inspired, and feeling like they have found their home. And that is something I'm very, very proud of. And that our team is very proud of as well. Because we meet people where they are. And it's important for us to continue to affirm each other and our humanity and all forms of our humanity, while we are continuing to deal with all these other things around us. And so this will be a great opportunity for people who have never engaged with us, who have never heard from the speakers that we feature. And some are newcomers, some are OGs, if you will. And we want folks to come and have a good time in the Atlanta area. Morrow is just about a good maybe 15, maybe 20 or 30 minutes south of the Atlanta airport. And
we should just call this
still
Atlanta. I shouldn't have said Morrow. We should just say Atlanta.
It's Atlanta. Yeah, it's the Atlanta area. And no, but it's perfectly fine. So yeah, it's for those who are in neighboring states, it's very much within driving distance. And if for those who want to come from out of town and fly, come on down. And it's also this is World Atheist Day. I know there's some dispute about what day that actually is or what have you, but usually March 23rd is World Atheist Day. I know that we acknowledge it as such. And so that is the weekend of that acknowledgement. And we want people to, again, affirm their non-religious identities and continue to feel comfortable, especially as we are seeing a bunch of Christian nationalists try to take center stage in public policy and in our government. And that's going to be important. It's going to be much more important than ever for us to assert our identities, as well as get involved, find your communities, and support the organizations that are doing the work, and also so just support each other as a community. And that is something that we are always about and continue to be about. We're approaching 14 years as an organization. We got started in 2011, so we are coming up on our 14th anniversary. And so,
That
yeah,
time
I'm
just
very, very
flies.
happy and proud. It really, really does. It does. And so, it has just been an honor to really be a part of this movement and to show people the work that we have been doing over these years, what we will continue to do, and how folks really can get involved, and support the work we do and have just a wonderful time in the process.
Well, if you want, let's go through who now you guys are still working on your lineup. There's people to add, but I want to make at least hit the people that are on the graphic and in the list. I don't know if you want to talk about each one of them individually or give any kind of bio or what they may be talking about or what their area of focus is, but I'm looking at the list already, but go for it.
Yeah. So, of course, we have Chris Cameron, who is now a BM board member. Shout out to him and, his spades playing. But he is the author of Black Freethinkers, A History of African American Secularism. And he will be speaking on various things. He did a wonderful talk on BNCCon last year about his journey from having been in prison to becoming, a professor and also an atheist. And so that really I'm sure that will resonate. His journey will resonate with folks. He just might be our spades tournament host. I'm not sure what we're going to do with him just yet, but he's a fantastic educator and a fantastic speaker. And so we also have Candace Gorham, who is a longtime BN partner and affiliate. She's also the board president of the American Humanist Association. She is the author of the Ebony Exodus Project. And also on Death, Dying, and Disbelief. Candace is a therapist. She also does mindfulness meditation. And she's also a member of the Godless Gospel Ensemble, along with myself and Cynthia, who I will talk about next. So you've seen Cynthia. She is our affiliate leader of our Chicago group. She's also hosted on various shows on YouTube platforms. And she's
That's so sweet.
also yes, she's also an
you don't got to duck and dodge
Ooh.
anything.
No, that's perfectly fine. You know what, Matt?
It's a little bit of an inside joke. It's a little bit of an inside joke, but yeah, we love Cynthia.
Yes, and Cynthia is like Cynthia is like a sister. She is a sister to me, along with Candace and so many others. But she's also a big advocate for economic justice, especially as it pertains to Black communities. So she's big on reparations, which we do stand for, especially institutionally and historically. So we will be having her speaking to that. We will be featuring the speaker's name is Kriya Santa. She is the leader of the Emory Secular Student Alliance at Emory University. She's LGBTQ+. She's also she's pursuing her master's degree in public health. And so she will be speaking to the intersections of being a student, being a young person, LGBTQ+, and a Black woman atheist. And Nikki G, who is over the Black Religious Trauma Network or Recovery Network, she hosts a podcast, Surviving the Black Church. And she will be, we are going to be working on providing resources for people who are, looking for either peer support or professional support for overcoming religious trauma coming from Black communities. And also, we're featuring another OG, Jeremiah Kamara, who is local to the area. I know you've been on, we've been at a few conferences and conventions together. He produced and directed the films Contradiction, as well as Holy Hierarchy, which are both of which are on Amazon Prime. He's working on a new documentary that's still in the works. And, he's also another fantastic speaker, a longtime collaborator with Black non-believers. And
incredibly passionate and talented guy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And y'all will just, it's so down to earth too. Oh my gosh. He's so down to earth and we just love him to pieces. And so you're gonna have such a very wonderful and interactive time with us and the family that we have cultivated. Definitely along with you, Matt. I mean, you are part of the Being family, but it's just really, really something special to see us all together as a part of Black non-believers and the community that we have cultivated. And so I'm not sure if you have anything for right now before I go into our keynote speaker that I'm really excited to announce.
Let's do it, because I'm thrilled, because this is an individual that I heard about. I knew what was going on, but it happened at a time where there was a lot going on, including me getting ready for open heart surgery and other stuff. And so I wasn't involved with any of the events and activism really in support of him. So tell us all about your keynote speaker.
Absolutely. So our keynote speaker, drum roll. Virtually, our keynote speaker on World Atheist Day on March 23rd will be Mubarak Bala, Nigerian activist Mubarak Bala. For those of you who aren't aware of Mubarak, he is the former president of Humanists of Nigeria, who was arrested and detained for blasphemy. And because he was in the northern part of Nigeria, he was charged with blasphemy for speaking against Islam. And this was in 2020. And in addition to everything else that you had going on, Matt, of course, we had to remember that this was during the time of COVID. So this was when everyone was, the world was in a panic, everything, there was so much going on. But his arrest sparked such an outrage globally, because it is just still, we know that in there are countries where blasphemy or people who speak against certain religions is punishable by imprisonment and also death, which is still just unfortunate. But this created such a worldwide outcry, and BN joined in with other organizations. I know that Humanist International, Dr. Leo Igwe, with the Advocacy for Alleged Witches, and many other organizations. We did a rally cry to free Mubarak. And the U.S. Commission for International Religious Freedom got involved and put pressure on the Nigerian government to free him. Now, in 2022, he pled guilty, for the sake of his family, and he received a 24-year sentence. But eventually, there was a judge who decided that sentence was too harsh. And in 2020, and recently he was released. He was freed from prison. So he is now a free man. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
No. I know you covered details of this, but just in case anybody's not aware, the nuts and bolts are that in 2020, the guy made a Facebook post that was critical of Islam, and because both Sharia law and Nigerian law has anti-blasphemy laws in it, they locked him up for 2 years waiting for his trial. After 2 years in prison, he pleads guilty to 18 charges. They sentenced him to 24 years. And now, 2 years later, so he was sentenced in 2022. 2 years later, at the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025, he's now been released because there's a judge. The only thing that I find remotely encouraging about this is that despite the fact that there are blasphemy laws, despite the fact that both Sharia law and Nigerian law have absolutely awful laws that inhibit free speech, and they're willing to lock up good people for doing nothing but stating why they're opposed to something or whether or not they should be opposed to it. The only ray of sunshine is that somewhere in Nigeria, there's a judge that said, you know what? Even with these laws, that penalty is too much. And it makes me cautiously optimistic. And I would love to hear from Mubarak if he's at all optimistic of changes resulting from what happened to him. What has he heard? I hope that he had, I'm sure during Q&A, if not in his keynote, he may address things like that. But I think there's a brilliant opportunity to find out, as the world crumbles and fascism takes over in different places, what's his level of optimism? I mean, we know he's still scared for his safety.
Yes. And so I have actually been in touch with Mubarak recently. And he was, he still has that feeling of trepidation, but he's been having some meetings and connecting with people, and he is starting to feel more optimistic. As an organization, we would like to help support him more in his activism and in his reintroduction into society. And it's going to take the support of all of us in order to be able to do that. So as Black non-believers in particular, we are asking for our viewers and our supporters to really pitch in. We would like to help him financially, and to really, because again, his safety is still an issue. His family's safety is still an issue. And I know he definitely appreciates all the support that he has received globally. But, and even in traveling to Lagos back in October for the first African Free Thought Music and Arts Festival, it was really encouraging to see the levels of free thought and the activism that is on the ground with the humanist groups there. Because, Nigeria is still very much a Christian and Muslim country, but there is a history of activism, just like there has been in Black communities here in the US. And it deserves to be highlighted, and it deserves to be supported. And we want to make sure that we are connecting and supporting Mubarak and the other organizations, and working with the other organizations to make sure that he can sustain himself once, now that he is free. And the one thing I've said this in private conversations, if we're talking about anyone who has truly sacrificed, many of us, I know I have sacrificed for this movement, you have sacrificed for this movement, Mubarak has definitely taken one for the movement.
Yeah.
And we really, really should be supporting the activists who are doing this work, and those who face real dangers as a result of speaking up and speaking out. And this could be a learning lesson even for people over here. Many of us fear losing connections and support, which is absolutely valid. But we have communities here to support each other. But when there are folks in countries where this is absolutely crucial, where it could mean their lives, they definitely need to be on our radar, and we need to be working more together to support the work that they do, and also be willing to support the organizations that are on the ground doing this work over here, whether it is the content creation virtually, whether it is a community building in person, or just all of it. All of it is important. And I really think that it is, Mubarak serves just as this very crucial example of the people that we need to support, who have really, really sacrificed themselves to speak up and to stand up for what they know to be right.
So we're going to go to callers here in just a couple of minutes. And so we've already got one call queued up. If you have questions about Black non-believers or the Revival of Reason, the information is on the screen, but you can call in and ask questions. There's the promotional stuff. March 21st through 23rd, 2025. There are student discounts, sponsorship opportunities. You can go to blacknonbelievers.org. You can also find out about membership there and supporting Black non-believers in addition to the actual event. But blacknonbelievers.org/of-reason-2025, which you'll find from their homepage as well. That's where you can go to register, find out more information about the event. one of the things normally on the line, we're wanting people to call in to defend their God belief, and we're happy to do that. Mandisa and I will, yes, if you think we've missed out and there's a good reason to believe in a God, sure. If you are someone who's been impacted negatively by religion, if you are someone who has had experiences that you didn't know where to turn, if your community, whether you're in the Hispanic community, the Black community, or just generally in the atheist community, if your community has been lacking, but you found resources elsewhere, we're happy to hear about those things. But if you have experience with being helped by Black non-believers, by going to their events and enjoying your time there, finding and building additional community, hearing from people that you didn't necessarily know beforehand, and realizing that, there are a lot of different stories, but there are so many similarities, and people are going through so many of the same struggles. But the struggles that exist for the Black community in general are different from the struggles that exist in other areas. And not saying it's worse or better, different. We have different communities, and this impacts us in different ways. There's so many things that I've learned over the years, both from Mandisa, from Anthony Penn, from Durante Lamar, from other people in the Black community that have found their way out of religion and are working to make things better. I'm thrilled. Not only is Mandisa here, but we've got this Revival Reason coming up. And I just checked. I can't come to the event. I'm at a wedding that weekend.
Oh, boo.
If it wasn't a wedding of someone I genuinely care about, I'd have skipped the wedding and come to the event. But on that note, we've got calls, and right off the bat, this call has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about, and it may be a particularly short call, but we're ready for you guys to go ahead and queue up on other things. David is calling from Italy and says, when it comes to abortion, does bodily autonomy really matter more than personhood? Hey, David, how are you?
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for having me.
I can answer your question really easily.
Yes.
Are you a person?
Yes.
Should you have the right to have any power or make any decision or use somebody else's body without their consent?
No.
Cool. You just affirmed that individual autonomy supersedes or is more important than personhood.
There is just a small problem because I think in our world, so first of all, I saw one of your debates with Destiny and also your other takes on the issue. And the problem is in many instances, when it comes to biomedical ethics, there are scenarios where the concern about the being inside the woman or the
it's not relevant, David. David, none of this is relevant. You've already confirmed that autonomy is prioritized over personhood.
Yes, but can I ask you a question? Because my question is related to an event that happened in real life. For example, when we have law against people that serve, for example, women alcohol, we have such law where people are punished to give women alcohol. But this law does not make sense if we account for the bodily autonomy of a woman, because a woman should be.
David, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you back up again and say it again?
Okay, so basically what I said is that we have laws like the laws against alcohol, to sell alcohol to women, and such laws seems to go against the principle of bodily autonomy, because if a woman should be free to do whatever she wants with her body, why we are preventing a service to pregnant women if they have the right to do whatever they want to their own body. Because this set a precedent that we are
Okay, David,
yes.
So you're talking about there are laws preventing the sale of alcohol.
Yes.
David, was this just a long prank call?
Yes.
Yes?
No. I'm serious. Yes.
Okay.
No,
Then
this is not a
listen
prank
up.
call.
Then listen up.
Okay.
You talked about a law where you can't sell alcohol to women. Is that law for all women or just pregnant women?
Pregnant women.
Right. And the reason for that is if someone is knowingly pregnant and they are currently in a position where they intend to remain pregnant, then you have two individual bodies that are impacted by the act. As a matter of freedom, you may not be able to stop someone from drinking. I don't know how somebody determines whether or not they can sell alcohol to a woman or to somebody who's pregnant, unless it becomes obvious they're pregnant. And then you've got to ask, are you pregnant or are you just fat? Which is just ridiculous and rude. So when it comes to bodily autonomy, this is about, even if you grant the fetus personhood, it does not have the right to use the pregnant person's body. That was the point that I made at the beginning that you already agreed to. Everything else you've said is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if we think, okay, we have some duty to protect the fetus from the acts of the pregnant person. That is a separate issue, because that's not saying this fetus gets to prioritize over somebody's bodily autonomy. At the end of the day, bodily autonomy is more important than personhood, which you acknowledged from the beginning.
Yes, so for context, first of all,
I don't need any more context, David.
No, but
you already conceded, David, you already conceded the point. How can it change with context?
Yes, because there is now a major consequence. Because if, for example, what is your best argument? Because this is something that we do. So what is your best argument for a woman that it is going, but has decided to do an abortion, for example? Why we should then test specific drugs, for example, to that fetus during a clinical trial, if that fetus is going to die anyway? Because some of the
David.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Abortion is not the right to kill a fetus. Abortion is the right to end a pregnancy. The fact that the fetus dies in the overwhelming majority of these is not in any way an excuse to say, oh, you can do it any way you want to, or you can just get drugged. So once again, your question was whether or not autonomy is superior to personhood, which I answered yes, which you acknowledged from the beginning. And now you're just moving on to a completely different topic that doesn't in any way change the fact, don't you dare, that doesn't in any way change the fact that autonomy is preferential and has priority over personhood.
I'm sorry, I'm confused because yes, like I said, because if we are talking about bodily autonomy, you said that a woman can technically do whatever she wants with their own body.
No, I didn't. No, I fucking didn't. No, I didn't. The issue here is if you grant personhood to the fetus, does that give it the right to force the pregnant person to remain pregnant? And the answer is no. Whether or not the fetus is a person, whether or not it's in the womb coming up with a cure for cancer, is irrelevant to whether or not it gets to use somebody else's body without their consent. Once there is consent, once there is consent to remaining pregnant, the person who's pregnant is agreeing to some minimal restrictions upon what they would otherwise be allowed to do, because now they're caring for two.
Okay, but if there are alternatives, because I'm not agree, but at least before 24 weeks, abortion should be allowed. But
David,
for example,
David,
if the
David, does it matter how long someone is a person?
you said in a debate, I think, but if there were technologies to allow a baby to be born without to terminate a pregnancy without killing
David,
the baby,
David,
y-
David,
yes,
you're addressing something I said in a debate, right?
yes,
Send me an email with what I said in the debate and I'll explain it to you, because this is not helping anything. I'm telling you right now what my position is. I'm sorry if you misunderstood what I said in a debate or if I misspoke in a debate, but I'm telling you right now what my position is, which you've already fucking agreed to. What difference does it make if you count a fetus as a person from day one? It still does not get the right to use somebody else's body without their consent, right?
yes. Okay, so I will do one example, but there is you
I
usually use
don't need
the
any fucking
hypothetical,
examples, David. You just said yes.
but if for example a person is
There's no
in that
but.
situation because
No,
of
David, there is no but. You've repeatedly agreed to the fact that autonomy is prioritized over personhood. There's no but.
if a person dies because of another person, you wouldn't
You
judge
are
that
you are
person for
completely
No,
autonomy.
gosh, here we
disinterested
go.
in
Here
having
we
an
go.
honest conversation, David.
No, okay, no,
And
okay,
Dave,
I
if
agree
I
with
may
you, but
if
Yeah,
I may
yeah. Go ahead,
interject,
Mandisa.
David, you just mentioned someone dying because of another person. So if the fetus has shown to be dangerous to if the pregnancy is shown to be dangerous to the mother or to the body that it is hosted, should that person not have the right to make the best decision for their safety? If this, because
yes,
there is something called ectopic pregnancies. Are you familiar with those?
yes. For context, I'm not knowledgeable more than you at all, but I'm still studying pharmacy, and I agree 100% that a woman should decide on their own body, especially when it comes to medical conditions or even elective reasons before 24 weeks. After
Well,
24 weeks, when the fetus,
well,
yes,
what are your? Do you have any statistics, or do you have anything that shows that there are women? There are a significant number of women who are choosing to abort after 24 weeks, because that usually is
okay,
quite uncommon.
And when you're done
yes, I
addressing
think,
that, you can explain to us why bodily autonomy is why you're willing to throw out bodily autonomy after 24 weeks. Because if you're willing to grant bodily autonomy independent of personhood, what fucking difference does it make if it's 20 weeks, 22 weeks, 23 weeks, 27 weeks, 57 million weeks?
okay. So first, to the other question is, yes, I think it is very low, like 1%, but there is also a controversial study. I don't remember exactly the name. I think it is from James Spodisky or something like that, but wrote that when elective abortion after 20 weeks, 24 weeks are allowed, women will take more that option when they are allowed legally.
What?
Of course,
That just doesn't
one
make any
can, yes,
sense.
no, one can say, because one can say, okay, in a city there is no murder, so even if in a city there is no murder, we should agree that such thing shouldn't be legalized just because there is no murder. So if there some moral grounds, but we agree. But elective abortion shouldn't be allowed after 24 weeks. It doesn't really matter how many there are.
But it does, because for one, there are medical conditions that can pop up after 24 weeks.
Yes.
And like Matt, but again, I'm sorry, David, even if we're talking, let's talk practically here. There are things that, just because and correlate, just because something is available doesn't always mean that people utilize it. And I will tell you that most women do not make the choice to have an abortion lightly. I am one of them. I have 3 children. I have terminated pregnancies as well. And these are decisions that are not easy to make. You're speaking from a position that people are just willy-nilly going to have abortions just because they feel like it, especially after 24 weeks. And that is just not the case. And if we're talking about less than 1%, that usually means that it's an emergency situation. And that just because that option is available, it doesn't mean that women are going to, it is absolutely ridiculous to imply that women are just going to go running wild and abort babies that are older than 24 weeks simply because they can. That 1% number states that is not what women do.
But let's imagine that every pregnant person ever in the history of pregnancy decided to get an abortion at 27 weeks. What is your objection to that? Why are you granting special rights to a fetus? And why are you prioritizing personhood over autonomy at 27 weeks and not at 24?
Wait, repeat the question, sorry.
Let's imagine that everybody who ever wanted an abortion wanted one at 27 weeks. You don't think that should be allowed.
Okay.
And yet you think that autonomy is prioritized over personhood. What's your justification for not allowing abortions what's your justification for not allowing abortions at 27 weeks?
No, for me, abortion in that case should be allowed if there are medical conditions and there are indeed specific medical reason also when it comes to a fetus health, like if the fetus have genetic condition. Why I'm not allowing? Yes,
David. Why is their bodily autonomy being? What is your reason for dismissing their bodily autonomy at 27 weeks?
Because I think the fetus have. So there are 3 reasons. The first one is I think the fetus starts having a degree of fetal pain because there are quite a lot of papers that starting found out that the fetus after 24 weeks start to having fetal pain. The second reason is because of the ability.
David,
yes.
Stop. Listen to me. We addressed this at the beginning of the fucking call. Are you a person?
Yes.
Are you greater? Are you currently older than 27 weeks from conception?
Yes.
Do you have the right to tell anybody else that they have to stay pregnant?
No.
Cool. Then why are you doing it on behalf of a fetus, whether it's a person or not? If you as a person can't do that, why are you trying to justify giving special rights to a fetus?
There are 2 ways we can implement that. The first thing is that they can effectively do an abortion, but it will still be manslaughter.
David, answer my fucking question.
Why?
Why are you granting special rights to a fetus that it doesn't have prior to 24 weeks and won't have after delivery? Why is it that in that gap between when it's 24 weeks and when it pops out of a fucking womb, you're giving it special rights to beat someone else's bodily autonomy? What is the justification? Last fucking chance.
Okay, I understand. So first of all, I'm not granting special rights for the fetus.
Yes,
for
you
one
fucking
reason.
are.
Yes, you are.
No,
Yes,
I'm going to mute
yes,
you.
you are.
I'm going to mute you because now you're just being dishonest. Listen to me very fucking carefully. Prior to 24 weeks, you think someone should be able to abort for whatever reason based on bodily autonomy. After a fetus is delivered, they no longer have any claim to use that person's body. But between 24 weeks and delivery, you are saying the fetus should have the right to use someone's body without their consent. For clarity, are you in fact, yes or no, saying that between 24 weeks and delivery, the fetus should have the right to use someone's body without their consent?
No.
You're not. So then you have just acknowledged that that fetus doesn't have the right to use that body. So why are you drawing a line at 24 weeks for something that does not change?
The woman can abort because the woman can abort, but if the fetus dies, is still manslaughter. It's not the fact that the woman chooses to abort the fetus, but it is the fact that the woman lead the person to be in that situation. If you rely on me because of me, I can cut the blood that I've given you, but because you are in that situation because of me, I can be charged for manslaughter if you are a person.
David, this is a monumental waste of my fucking time and everybody else's time. You've already acknowledged the answer to your question, and now you are saying that you don't think a fetus should have the right to use some. Does a fetus have the right to use the pregnant person's body at any point, ever, without their consent?
No.
If the fetus doesn't have a right to use that person's body without their consent, then then you are already prioritizing bodily autonomy over personhood, correct?
No, because it is not about bodily autonomy. It is the outcome. The woman can stop the pregnancy.
No, it's not.
But
no, it's
the
not.
Outcome is...
No, it's not.
Why?
It's about what is the reason that the fetus cannot use somebody else's body? What's the reason?
Because indeed it is bodily autonomy. But
thank you.
But if the fetus
No.
dies,
We're done. We're completely fucking done, David. I'm tired of you agreeing with me and then saying some bullshit to try to disagree or flex on how there's a different scenario or anything along those lines. The fact of the matter is, you agree with me that the fetus at no point has the right to use somebody else's body without their consent. And that automatically, as bodily autonomy, allows the pregnant person to terminate that pregnancy, period.
okay. We disagree because I think there are many...
No, we disagree because you're not fucking listening and you are not grasping the fact that when somebody's pregnant, who's in charge of their body?
The woman.
Correct.
Yes.
And so no fetus and no government should have the right to force them to remain pregnant or to terminate, correct?
Yes.
Then shut the fuck up. We've settled this for the 5th time. Goodbye. You just said yes to nobody. No God, no government, no goo or fetus has the right to force someone to remain pregnant or terminate a pregnancy without their consent. That's just the way it is. Now, if you want to say that you don't value bodily autonomy, and on some other grounds you want to come up with, here's why I'm opposed to abortion, congratulations. I don't give a shit. Nobody should give a shit because you can come up with every esoteric thing you want. Oh, I don't think we should just be killing people willy-nilly. Cool. Thanks for your opinion, bro. The rest of us are going to deal with addressing laws that protect people's individual autonomy.
That part. That
You
part
should
right
also
there.
you should also mind your own fucking business, since I'm pretty sure you'll never be pregnant. Not that this isn't an issue for everybody. I'm not going down the line. Only people with a womb can answer. No, there are people without wombs who not only have good things to say, but are doing it in a way that, it's like women didn't get the right to vote until men gave it to them. You had to convince people who weren't part of the affected group. Same thing with ending slavery. The same thing with, just equality across the board. You have to get people outside of the affected groups to support things. You are not doing that, David. You are looking for excuses to say, you know what? I value bodily autonomy, but maybe personhood should trump it at some point, except when pushed, you say it shouldn't. So go think about it, and you can send me an email and say, here's my reason for why I think I should be the one to decide to tell somebody else, I'm sorry, you're 25 weeks pregnant. You don't get to terminate. You fucking busybodies.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, just the implication that women are just going to do, they're just going to have these abortions after 24 weeks because they want to. Even if that was the case, again, it's still none of David's or anyone else's business. But the statistics and the facts don't match. They don't add up. So there's no good justification for him to even say that.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm absolutely exhausted. I swear I'll talk about abortion, but I have zero interest in talking to dudes about abortion.
Yeah.
Not men, dudes.
Yeah, dudes. Right. Right.
If you're in chat and you say, Matt, do you have evidence for that? You do realize I'm not reading chat and you're on a delay. So when you say, do you have evidence for that? I have no idea what you're talking about, but you could call in and ask whether or not we have evidence for that. If you're asking for whether or not I have evidence for bodily autonomy being prioritized over personhood, no, that's not an evidence-based position. That is an axiom that I accept. If you reject it, that's fine. We can have a discussion about why you're wrong. Not factually wrong, but ethically wrong. Hey, you ready for some calls, maybe about gods and stuff?
Yeah, but before we do that, I'd just like to, about the Revival of Reason. If you become an official BN member, there is a discount code for you that is in the registration form, and there will be other discounts to other events. So yes, do consider becoming an official BN member to receive your discount for our events. And this does include virtual registrations for the Revival of Reason. So now I'm ready.
All right. Let me do a quick bit of announcements first. Tonight, of course, we're doing Hostility. On the Sunday show at 2 p.m. on Sunday, it's going to be Forrest, Valkai, and Eve doing the Sunday show then. And at 7 o'clock, it'll be Forrest. Oh, no. At 7 o'clock, it'll be me and Owen. I looked at the wrong part of the schedule. Next Monday, Skeptalk is going to be John Gleason and Grayson. Next Tuesday, Chewed Gum is Alyssa and Erica Gibbon. And next Wednesday, I will be doing the Hang Up with Jim Barrows. And on Thursday, Transatlantic Call Show is going to be Arden Hart. So I don't know who that is, but I heard she's hot and awesome and smart and all those wonderful things. So, all right. We actually have theistic callers. And let me just say in advance, I genuinely hope that all the callers are engaging honestly. Please remember, there's a delay. We're probably going to interrupt and ask questions because we've done this for a long time and we need to clarify who's talking about what. If we ask a question, if you think that it's a trick or a trap, I guess you can avoid it if you want to. But all we want to do is get to clarity so that somebody can say, here's what I believe and why I think you should agree with me. And then we can either say, ooh, I have a way to show that that's not true, or I'm not convinced that it is true, or here's why your reasoning doesn't convince me. something like that. That's it. This is not all that difficult. And
no
it
rocket
doesn't
science,
have to
right.
be, it doesn't have to be, adversarial when we're talking about whether or not a God exists. It's a fundamentally different range of issues than, let's say abortion rights or LGBTQ rights or anything like that. There's no reason for the God thing to get heated as long as everybody's just talking and answering questions. However, it will. Maybe not this time. Matthew is calling from Oxford, prone to him. Matthew's a theist with a new argument for the existence of God. So welcome,
Okay.
Matthew. You're on with me and Mandisa.
Yeah, hey, nice to meet you. So the new argument for the existence of God is called the anthropic argument.
I'm sorry, you broke up for a second.
About how one reasons. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it was just a momentary hiccup. I just wanted
okay.
you to state it again.
Sounds good. So anthropics is about how one does probabilistic reasoning about the fact of their own existence. So there's a principle of anthropic reasoning known as the self-indication assumption. And the basic idea behind the self-indication assumption is that your existence is likelier if more people exist. So for example, suppose that a coin gets flipped. If it comes up heads, one person gets created. And if it comes up tails, 10 people get created. Suppose that you get created from this process. The self-indication assumption holds that you should think that it's 10 times likelier that the coin came up tails, because the idea is that if the coin came up tails, it's 10 times as likelier that you would come to exist. Now, I'll be happy to argue for the self-indication assumption, but currently I'm just giving a brief overview of the argument. Now, suppose we grant this. Well, if we have a God who wants to create and has unlimited ability to create, then you get, in expectation, lots more people than atheism. And so then you get a major probabilistic update in favor of theism over atheism, in particular because the number of possible people is some very large infinity. An omnipotent God would be capable of creating that and would want to create that given the goodness of creation. But in contrast, if there is no God, it's very unlikely that you would get, maybe you'd get infinite people, but at best a small infinite worth of people. It's highly unlikely that you would get the large infinite of people enough to make your existence likely. So that's the basic argument.
Why is it that you say, now I'd have to go back. By the way, are you saying entropic argument or anthropic argument?
He said anthropic.
Anthropic.
Okay, because it's typed up in the screening thing. It's entropic. My apology. So why is it that in a universe that is not governed or created by a God, you don't think you would get to a large number of people? Or do you just think that it's more likely in a universe governed by God than one that's not?
So I want to be clear that I'm not talking about in any particular universe. I think you might get some more numbers of people in any particular universe that are created by God and not God. The thing that I'm saying you get more of is if you have an omnipotent God, he can create a really, really large multiverse that can create some ginormous infinity worth of people. In contrast, on atheism, if there is no God, it's much harder to see how you get a very large infinity worth of people. If you look at the existing multiverse models, for example, they tend to get you either a finite number of people or the smallest infinity worth of people.
Whoa.
God can create
don't we have
large infinity worth.
No. Don't we have a finite number of people?
There is a finite number of people on Earth, certainly. My claim is that across the multiverse, there's an infinite number of people.
I'm not aware that there is a multiverse.
Well, the argument gives you a reason to think there is a multiverse. If you accept the self-indication assumption that your existence is likelier if there are more people than if there's a giant multiverse, then your existence is infinitely likelier.
Is it more likely?
Now, maybe we can talk about reasons.
Is it more likely for you to get a royal flush if I'm cheating than if I'm not?
Yes.
If you get a royal flush, does that tell you whether or not I'm cheating?
No, it doesn't single-handedly.
And so looking at the universe and seeing a finite number of people and not having any reason to suspect that there's a multiverse, I don't see how you can appeal to a multiverse, but the mere fact that that those are possibilities, even if it were more likely on God than on not God, you have exactly one universe to investigate and explore. How do you show whether this is the universe that was just unlikely or the one that's because of God?
Right. So it's sometimes worth believing improbable hypotheses.
No, it's not.
So like, in the royal flush case, Sorry.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
You have no way.
Okay.
You have no way of calculating or approximating probability, and you're not answering my question.
Wait, sorry. Okay, repeat what the question was.
No.
Okay.
Mandisa wants to get in, and I'm done repeating
No,
myself to people who aren't.
I'm just very confused about the multiverses and how this proves that there's a God. And which God are you referring to? That's which God are you talking about?
Right. So I'm a generic theist. So I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not a Jew. I just think that there is an all-powerful God that created the universe. And I think this argument, it doesn't single-handedly establish that, but it certainly raises the probability of that. Now,
But you said that you could.
Regarding multiverse.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. We're listening.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Regarding multiverse, the thought is that we do have evidence for a multiverse. If your existence is likelier in 10 universes than it is in one, and it's likelier if there are 1,000 universes than if there are 10, then if there are infinite universes, then your existence is infinitely likelier. And so if there's a multiverse, then it's way likelier that you would come to exist. Like if there's just one universe, what are the odds that you would be one of the billion-ish people, or the few billion people who happen to exist in that one universe?
The mistake here is that you are presuming a particular conclusion that has occurred. The probability of me existing is 1. How likely or unlikely it was, given some alternate set of circumstances or amongst a variety of different universes that may or may not have occurred or could have occurred, is irrelevant. The probability of me existing is 1. And that's true whether I'm in the universe where it's unlikely and there is no multiverse and there is no God or anything else. That is true 100%, whether I'm in that universe or whether I'm in the universe that is the result of a God. How do you tell the difference between those two universes?
So imagine, well, the way we tell a difference between the two universes is that the universe that has a God is much likelier to have you. So after coming to exist,
no, sir. You are making an assertion about how likely something is. I'm saying, given the observation, how do you conclude which of the two you are offering two candidate explanations for an observation? I do not accept that you have offered candidate explanations, but I realize that you think you have candidate explanations because there's not been a demonstration that a God is even possible or likely, or that a multiverse is possible or likely. However, if you list two candidate explanations that I exist, or that a God exists or a God doesn't exist, how likely I am under either one of those is irrelevant if we begin with the observation, I exist. How do you determine which of those is most likely to be the correct answer?
Okay, so here's an analogy that would perhaps be helpful. Suppose that you and I are playing poker and I get 10 royal flushes in a row. And you say, look, one mat to another, you say, I think you're cheating. Because the odds of me getting 10 royal flushes in a row by chance are so low. But in contrast, if I'm cheating, it's much likelier that I would get 10 royal flushes in a row. And I say to you, whoa, we already know the odds. We already know I did get 10 royal flushes. So the odds are 1. That wouldn't be very convincing because even though we know that it did happen, we can look at how likely it would be to happen on different hypotheses. Analogously, we know that you exist, but we can look at how likely it is that you would exist if there is a God.
No, stop, Matthew. Matt. We know there's a demonstration that someone can cheat at cards and deal you a royal flush. You do not know that it's possible for an all-powerful being to exist and create universes. You do not get to consider that a candidate explanation and compare its likelihood when you have no demonstration that it's possible or likely. You can't begin with a known.
Matter, for instance.
You cannot begin.
So regarding the...
No, I didn't say fuck all about dark matter, did I, Matt?
Oh.
No, yeah. I was making a point about dark matter.
I'm not asking you to make a point about dark matter. I'm asking you to address the fact that you just asserted. Is my existence even more likely if there's a particularly powerful extra-dimensional fairy who definitely wanted to make a world where I exist? Is it more likely on that than on God?
Yes, but we have to look both.
So
at how
no.
likely
There's
a
no
theory is
but.
to explain the data
There's no
and
but.
prior probability.
There's no but.
No.
You just acknowledge that I came up with a scenario that's more likely than God. Do you believe that one?
No, I don't think that's more likely.
No,
than
you
God.
don't. You don't. So now we're into special pleading land where you are picking an explanation that isn't demonstrated to be possible, isn't demonstrated to be likely. You have no evidence to demonstrate at all. And you're saying that despite the fact that I just came up with one that's more likely to result in the observation, that you're still going to go with your all-powerful God.
Right, because when you evaluate a hypothesis, you want to look not merely at how well it explains the data, but you want to look at its prior probability, which is how likely it is before you look at the data. Now, the
You
prior
have no
probability
priors.
of a theory
You
is
have
very low,
you have
so
zero priors for God. You have zero priors for God. You cannot use Bayesian analysis to conclude God's likelihood, and you've already acknowledged that the scenario I came up with is more probable in the metaphorical, not metaphorical, but in the shit. Sorry. You've already acknowledged. You have already acknowledged that I came up with a scenario that is on its face a more probable, that the observation is more likely under that one than under God. And now you're going for God based on prior probabilities, but you don't have any prior probabilities. You cannot do in a Bayesian. What's the likelihood that a God exists under Bayesian analysis?
Well, I don't know exactly the odds.
Nobody does. How is it possible to calculate the odds?
Sorry. Well, just like so the way that you calculate odds generally is you look at the prior probability by taking into account considerations like simplicity, elegance, and explanatory power.
No, Matthew. Calculating the odds is not a Bayesian assessment. Calculating the odds of instances is what are the demonstrably possible outcomes, and then how often does this particular outcome come up? That's how you calculate odds.
I don't think that's the only way to calculate odds. So the point I was trying to make earlier about dark matter. So in the discovery of dark matter, what physicists noticed was that there are events in physics that are very mysterious and that can be explained very nicely if we posit that there's a kind of invisible matter that exerts gravitational waves. And they looked at lots and lots of different things that could be explained by that hypothesis. And so they didn't previously do anything like, they didn't have some independent demonstration that this was possible, nor did they have some precise way of calculating the odds. But they said, look, we have this non-particularly ad hoc hypothesis, and it explains the data really well, and so we think it's true. Similarly, I think when it comes to God, we have this non-ad hoc hypothesis that there's a mind of the very simplest sort, and then it very nicely explains lots of different lines of data. Here I've only presented one of them. But so for that reason, I think, it's a pretty good bet.
Okay. I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
Not only that, but you're betting on an absolutely useless, no-risk proposition because you're not picking a God. You just think, oh, I think it's a safe bet that there's a supreme being. You'll never be proved wrong or right, as far as we know. So congratulations.
Well, I think on my
congratulations on smelling your own farts and saying, you know what? They used to speculate that something like dark matter existed long before it was demonstrated. But let me ask you this, Matthew. Was it justifiable to believe that dark matter existed before it was confirmed?
No. But
no. Call me back when you confirm God. I'm not interested in navel gazing speculations about. Why are you talking over me? Call me back when you confirm God in the same way that dark matter was confirmed.
I don't think God would have the same kind of evidence that dark matter would have.
Not my problem. Not my problem. Not my fucking problem. That's your problem that you picked an analogy that fails because you want to get into special pleading, suggesting that an all-powerful God shouldn't have evidence for it the way dark matter was. Then you picked a bad fucking analogy because stop fucking interrupting me. Stop fucking interrupting me. You picked a bad analogy because Dark matter is something that is observable and testable, at least in principle. They didn't just pull something out of their ass. Physicists didn't just say, you know what, we got a problem with our model. Let's imagine there's a God. They didn't do that. They imagined a potential explanation that was consistent with the observations and potential within the known universe. You are reaching beyond any of that to a realm of magic and buffoonery that you can't even demonstrate is likely or possible. Call me back when you can.
Well, okay, so regarding the point...
No, I said call me back when you can.
No.
I'm not the one picking bad analogies. You didn't have to go with dark matter, but you did. In the entire history of the world, there's been absolutely no point at any time when anyone has demonstrated anything supernatural or anything beyond the bounds of space-time. Just a fact. So you can sit there and say, you know what, I'm just convinced that an all-powerful God's the best explanation for it. Cool. I'm bored. You have not demonstrated a God. You haven't demonstrated God as probable or possible. All you've done is say that you're convinced that a God is a reasonable explanation for it. And that's because
yeah.
Go ahead.
Now I said all the fancy words just boil down to what if. And what if is not proof. That's what I heard.
Yep, facts. Let's try this a different way. Amir is calling from somewhere in the U.S., pronouns are he, him, saying that the God or creator is evident. Hey, Amir, how are you? You're on with Mandisa and Matt.
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, you guys said there's a delay, so I'll try to keep up the best I can.
Which God is evident, and how can we tell?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, I'll say I'm a theist, not necessarily a deist. I do believe in a creator. So I'm kind of leaning in. Religion is like a different topic I don't want to get into right now, but you're asking which God specifically. Do you mean like which religion do I subscribe to?
No, which God? Yeah, which religion and God?
If you say God, if I say something is evident, I can tell you what that is, and then I can explain why it's evident. All I need you to do is tell me what is it that's evident and why.
Okay, yeah. So when I say the creator is evidence, right? I think the first thing we have to do is understand like what do we mean by evidence. I've seen a lot of your debates you've had with like Dillahunty and Dinesh D'Souza. I'm kind of familiar with
Amir.
Amir,
okay, I'm going to mute you. I would prefer not to be involved in this call any more than necessary. I'd love to just give Mandisa a shot because she's better at this on many levels than I'm going to be. I don't need you to talk about debates you've seen me do. I don't need you to say anything other than what you think is evident and what leads you to the conclusion that it's evident. I don't need you to talk about me. I don't need you to mention Daniel fucking child rapist apologist. I just need you to tell us what is evident and how we know it's evident. Go.
I'm more than willing to do that. But if I was to go into it, what I consider evident.
Okay. I don't need you to tell me that you're more than willing to do it and then say, but if I was going to go into it. I don't need you to do anything other than do what you say you're more than willing to do, because right now I don't believe you're more than willing to do it. I'm having difficulty believing you're willing at all. So tell us exactly what you think is evident and why we should reach the conclusion that it is evident.
If you keep interrupting, it's not going to help. So when I say God is evident.
Once again, Amir, I'm gonna try this again because it's clear that you don't fucking understand or you are not serious. When I take you off mute, if you mention the fact that I interrupted or put your ass on hold, you will be hung up on. Guaranteed. I already know I interrupted you because you're wasting our fucking time. I would like for that to not happen. Do you want to have a good conversation about this at all, then stop telling me what you would do, what you want to do, what you're more than willing to do, and instead answer the question at hand, which is tell us exactly what you think it is that is evident and how you know it's evident. Go.
Is this a monologue or a dialogue?
Goodbye.
Wow. Well,
This
you
is
said,
the
Matt,
bad
that
thing.
yeah, no, you said that folks have to be honest, and they're just not. They're not being honest
No.
about their engagement.
Amir, if you call in and you say the creator is self-evident, and all we say is, what do you mean by creator and what do you mean by evident? And we have to put you on hold multiple times because all you're doing is willing to say what you're more than willing to do, but not do it. And then all you do is whine about, is this a dialogue or monologue? Motherfucker, it's my fucking show. And it's a dialogue when you demonstrate that you are capable of engaging in a dialogue, which means if we ask a clarifying question, rather than wasting our entire audience's time and being rude to everybody else who's on hold, who might actually be willing and more than willing to do what you are clearly not, we should be engaging and having discussions with the people who don't waste our time and our money by staying on the line and wasting our time. Here we go. Thomas is calling in from Austria. Thomas is agnostic, pronouns are he, him. Something about God may or may not be able to be discovered or measured. Hey, Thomas, what's going on?
Hello, Matt. Thanks for having me. And I want to thank you for your work in general. And I discovered you and Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris recently. And I just had a thought that I more or less wanted to run by you because I didn't see it clearly refuted anywhere. And the thought would be that all the discussions on God, we can apply this to the same arguments to cars, to electricity, to AI 500 or 1,000 years ago. My main point would be maybe God can't be discovered, measured right now, but maybe maybe later in time. And in these videos of Dawkins and Harris and yours, I never saw that clearly refuted, and I just wanted to run this thought by you, more or less. Yeah, hello?
Yep, we're here.
Ah, okay.
I'm confused. The time to believe something is after it's been demonstrated, not before.
Okay, if that's the whole point, I'm satisfied if that's the whole answer. I just wanted to run this thought by you because.
And in all the time you've listened to me and these other jackasses that you named, nobody got that through?
Not as clearly. And as I said,
I just uttered a sentence I've literally said hundreds of times over the last 20 years. It's almost a fucking mantra. It's almost a t-shirt. In all that time, it didn't occur to you that the time to believe something is after it's been demonstrated to be true? And you said you wouldn't have been able to prove cars 500 years ago, and that could be the way to view God. Well, cars didn't exist 500 years ago.
No, I mean it in the sense that it may be lurking somewhere later. And if you are open to this, or if you would rule out this possibility 100%.
Who's ruling out a possibility, Thomas? Who's ruling out a possibility? Have I ruled out a possibility for gods?
No, that's why I'm asking.
No. So why did you say anything at all about ruling out a possibility? Who's ruling out a possibility?
Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you in any way. I just want.
You haven't offended me. You are annoying me. Answer the fucking question.
Okay.
Who is ruling out a possibility?
Nobody. As I
Cool.
said,
Then why did you mention it? then why did you mention it?
Just to, as I said, I'm new to this, and I just wanted to have clear thoughts on this.
Well, if I may ask Thomas, I'm sorry, Matt.
No.
First of all, the claim of existence is on the person or entity that makes it. And just as you said that there's no way to refute it, there certainly has been no proof. How long in the history of claims of gods during history, how long is it going to take? Like, how long do we have to keep waiting for this evidence of this God or these gods? Because we keep talking about God in a singular. Meanwhile, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of gods that have been purported to exist. How long is it going to take for them to be refuted or even proven? I mean, why should we continue to wait on that? When it, as Matt said, and as you acknowledged, that even though there were things that did not exist prior, now they do. So I'm just asking that question.
No, you're absolutely right, and I had similar thoughts. I just found these thoughts to be interesting in this conversation.
I mean, I just there are too many people who, and I understand that due to indoctrination, that it leads to a lot of questions and also a lot of fear. But that's also something that we have to be practical about as well. There has been no demonstrable evidence of any God's existence. And it is not up to those of us who, it is not up to us who have rejected those claims to keep looking for refutation.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like Matt said, we're not saying that it is impossible, but how long are we going to keep waiting before we just say, you know what, this is not going to, people need to be able to move on through with their lives after being indoctrinated, in some cases, very fundamentally and very damaging, to the point where they can move forward from these beliefs.
Yes, I see absolutely your point. And my last question would be just out of curiosity. How do you stay motivated after all these years debating, mainly theists, of course, because I find it admirable.
I think that's a question for you, Matt. I don't do that many debates. I don't do as many debates as Matt.
I don't have any reason. I don't know. I'm weird. I'm a freak. I don't know. Quite honestly, I'm increasingly less motivated because I've done this for 20 years. And then somebody calls in to say, "Oh, I've listened to your debates and everything else, and nobody's ever said anything that made this clear." And literally, I say the same sentence that I've said, I don't know, hundreds of times, and that makes it clear. That really, it frustrates me. And then, you've got the previous callers, where it's like somebody wants to argue on behalf of a probabilistic assessment of whether or not there's some creator God with no real properties or identity beyond, we think it's a being that wanted to create us, which is, when you set aside the good parts of that argument, it is basically saying, hey, if there was a magic being that wanted things to turn out this way, they're more likely to turn out this way. And now that we've seen they've turned out this way, that then makes the magic being more likely. Well, that's the affirming the consequent fallacy right off the bat. And instead, what they're trying to do is avoid that by claiming, no, this is going to be an abductive argument, an argument towards what the best explanation is. But then they want to present a God concept that they haven't demonstrated why should be a candidate explanation. And in their analogies, they make an analogy to playing poker, but we know people can cheat. I could demonstrate it. I can, there's a video of me shuffling cards for a while and dealing out a perfect bridge hand. It's in one of my videos. I can do it all day long. Well, I can't do it as much now as I used to. And so we get those things, and it's like, okay, cool. At least you're trying. But at the end of the day, all you're saying is, I'm convinced that this thing that I can't even show as possible is probably a better explanation, and I'm doing it for bad reasons. Then you get somebody who says, ooh, the creator is evident. Well, first of all, no God is self-evident. If a God is self-evident, we wouldn't be having the discussion about it. The first thing you would have to do is show how Mandisa and I are liars. That God is self-evident and we are denying or lying about self-evident. So basically you're arguing in that case that there's no such thing as non-resistant non-belief. And I reject that premise. And part of it is because that person is claiming to know my mind better than I do, and know whether or not I'm honest better than I am, know whether or not I'm seeking the truth better than I do. And how are they doing it? They're doing it by relying on their God claim. Well, congratulations. That's like, my daddy said you're a liar and my daddy can't be wrong. Well, cool. Mm-hmm. I'm glad. I wish your mommy had hugged you more, but I have to keep doing what I can to explain things. I'm baffled because you were like, hey, if your analogy was 500 years ago, we couldn't have shown that cars exist, and that's because they didn't exist. But then you're like, oh, well, 500 years ago, what I meant is we wouldn't have been able to show that cars would eventually exist. And you're correct. And that means that 500 years ago, there was not a justified belief that cars would be invented. The time to believe in cars is after they've been demonstrated. The time to believe in gods is after they've been demonstrated. The time to believe anything is after it's been demonstrated. I mean, this is skepticism. This is even almost pre-skepticism. This is skepticism 101. And I'm just baffled. And I'm not trying to be a dick to you, Thomas. I'm just baffled that anybody could have listened to me for any amount of time and not realized, we shouldn't believe things until there's good reason. It's not up to us, as Mandisa was pointing out, it's not up to us to disprove gods. It's up to the God botherers to prove them. And if you are going to sit here and say, ooh, and you did this in coded language multiple times without even realizing it, because you addressed that whole, ruling out the possibility. And then when I get you to acknowledge none of us are advocating ruling out the possibility, but what was going on in your head, I guarantee you, because I've done this for ages and I used to think similarly, is you're like, I'm agnostic. I can't be an atheist until I have really good reason to believe that there are no gods. And so if somebody can't demonstrate to me that there are no gods, I better just stay an agnostic, because otherwise I'm making a decision about something. Agnosticism is not the middle ground. There is no middle ground at all between I am convinced that a claim is true and I am not convinced that a claim is true. Those are direct logical negations. They are A and not A. There is no middle ground between A and not A. And so stop seeking the middle ground, acknowledge that nobody's ever demonstrated a God and that you don't have a reason to believe in God. And so you're an atheist in the sense that you are not convinced that a God exists. And when somebody demonstrates that a God exists, you should stop being an atheist and become a theist, which doesn't mean that you should worship their God, but you should at least believe it exists. I don't know, I've probably said this stuff 500 times.
No, I understand. Thank you. And then thank you for giving me the terminology, for example, the skepticism. As I mentioned, I'm very new to this, and please stay motivated, because people look up to you and respect you. And as you see, even people in Europe, Austria discover you, and you're a role model. And as I said,
don't saddle me with that, but thank you.
No, but it's honest, because it's and as you have you know that also that it is an emotional cascade, and if someone is on the beginning of the journey, it can be overwhelming. And
that is an incredibly good segue, Thomas. It's almost like you know what call is coming up next. Thomas, I'm going to let you go, and the
Thank you
next
very
call is
much.
going to address that. Thank
Have
you.
a nice weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You too. Our final call today, which I'm also going to turn this one over to you just right from the get-go after I say hello, because I find this dovetails into the last one. Jay is a theist, pronouns are he, him, who is deconstructing and says intellectually he knows Christianity isn't true, but emotionally he's still roped in. And that's why I was like, there's a lot of emotion involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
Jay, you're on the line with Mandisa. What's going on?
Hi, Jay.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if it was like appropriate for the line or not, but I'm just wanting to let go of my faith, but it's really difficult because I was like conditioned to it at a very early age, and I have a lot of emotional investment in it, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. What was it? Can you explain briefly what was the catalyst for your for challenging your faith to begin with? How did you arrive at that? Because that's pretty important.
When I started questioning my gender identity, I've struggled with my faith ever since.
Okay. And that's perfectly fair and perfectly valid. And we're assuming that you were raised Christian. What denomination?
It was pretty rough, Pentecostal.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. So first, you definitely have. I think I can speak for both of us, for Matt and me, when we say that we definitely you have our empathy, because it is not easy that when you are, when you are struggling with your gender identity and you come from a denomination that is extremely dogmatic towards, towards those identities, it's problematic. But the fear is there. Do you find yourself feeling scared?
Yeah, I mean, and I know I'm an adult and I shouldn't be afraid of hell, but it still really kind of creeps in when
Yeah.
I think about just finally like letting go and getting on with my life.
That is quite common, and I'm not being a dime store psychologist here. Maybe I am, right? Maybe I'm playing one for this show, but basically, as just as many debates that I'm sure that I know Matt has had. Both of us have connected with so many people who struggle, and the struggle is real. And I think it's important for you to know that your struggles are valid, that there is no faith or belief that should be telling you that you're wrong for this. And that it is important for you to find outlets and find others. This is one of the reasons why we continue to be active in this work, is because there are so many people like you who are struggling. And it is very, very important that you are able to come to this understanding for yourself, the comfort in your gender identity, as well as shedding your beliefs. But it is important to be armed with information. And have you been able to talk to anyone else about this?
I just don't know any like atheists in my area.
Well, you don't necessarily have to know atheists in your area. There are many virtual spaces. There are other organizations, and I'm sure, Matt, I'll say it before you do, like Recovering from Religion, which offers virtual spaces. Black Nonbelievers also offers virtual spaces for everyone. But there are resources for you to speak with others who, and let me just make it clear that we are not just simply saying that you should just become atheists. That is something that you will have to, that's a decision that you will have to make for yourself based on your comfort level, as well as the information and education that you receive. But there's plenty of support for you.
I do want to jump in for just a second, Jay, because, yes, recovering from religion and organizations, I want to make sure that, you're getting the support you need as you deal with this stuff. But there's a little fine point which may not fucking matter, and it might be dumb of me to even say so. But whether or not you are an atheist is independent from whether or not you let anybody know that you're an atheist. Whether or not you are an atheist is, am I actually convinced that a God exists? If the answer is no, or anything other than yes, you are not a theist. But it's kind of like being trans or gay or, black or white or whatever characteristic about you is just a matter of fact, independent of whether or not you want to acknowledge it to anybody. And yes, it's very difficult if Mandisa and I are out in public for me to hide the fact that I'm white and for her to hide the fact that she's black. But if we were online talking with people and we were, just operating anonymously, we would need to reveal that information. And there are really good reasons to do that. And there are also good reasons to not do that. Even if you don't believe in a God, even if you're not aware or properly understand your own gender identity, your own sexuality, your own preferred foods, you need to remember you don't owe anybody an explanation for any of it. And if you being honest and being your honest self is likely to cause you distress or harm, it's okay and preferable to be dishonest, provided that the dishonesty that you're engaged in isn't doing harm to others and is merely a matter of, I'm not going to tell you what's going on privately in my head because of the consequences of what you might think of me. And in doing so, recognize you are not hiding from their consequences because you think their consequences are just. You are hiding from those consequences because those consequences will do harm to you. That's it. It's like, don't put your hand on the stove. It's got nothing to do with whether or not I like stoves or whether or not this stove is, was one of my favorite stoves of all time, or if I got this stove used and fixed it up and repaired it myself. You don't have to engage, or you don't owe anybody a thing. And for the people who are trying to impose their views on you, those people need some help. And you may be able to help them at some point, because I guarantee you, Jay, as you become more distanced from the dogma and more comfortable with openly being who you know yourself to be, you will both begin to feel empowered. You will start to see other people who've been marginalized and ostracized willingly supporting you and offering you some assistance as well. And I'm not saying that you're instantly going to get a bunch of friends and a whole new network. You may spend quite a bit of time lonely throughout this. And that loneliness is probably one of the most crushing aspects of this whole thing, because what keeps people in religion is the fear of being ostracized from the group. If I don't keep going to church, who am I going to interact with? Do I lose all my friends? What about my family? If my family doesn't appreciate me because I'm an atheist, because I'm gay, because I'm trans, because I like the Cowboys, or whatever, that is all their problem. And it is them attempting to use your fear of being alone to keep you from being who you are and who you need to be. I know it's not going to be easy. I don't want to pretend it's easy. We've given you some resources in recovering from religion. I just want you to know there are people out here who are pulling for you, and that even that the loneliness and the vilification and ostracization that happens on behalf of people's religion is actually about their fear and their weakness. They are unable to deal with a reality in which you can exist as your true self. Something about who you are fundamentally digs a hole, like sticks a screwdriver in their head, swishes their brain around and digs a hole into what they believe to be true and what they desperately need to be true. These religious individuals are, in fact, victims. And the only way they can cope with not recognizing that they're victims is to victimize somebody else. You are the one that has to make a decision about how much you're willing to let others victimize you in order to maintain their company. And I'm not going to tell you there's a right answer to that. And the right answer for you may change as you grow and learn and get more comfortable.
Okay. So I guess my first step is to find like-minded people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have a social network around you. There are atheist meetup groups. There are, Arden, do you know of any, like, I apologize if this isn't the right language, but like trans egg community groups that people can interact with?
I don't off the top of my head. There's at almost every major metropolitan area. So if you're near a city, there's usually like a LGBTQ center or a health center that'll have like a support group with a lot of, and often those support groups have a lot of people who are early in transition because that's just kind of what they're designed for. And that can be a good place to find those people. But yeah, no guarantee they'll be like secular or anything. So, but yeah, that is a good place for like newly out trans people.
It might be difficult where you're at, Jay, but I'd start with some online networks and find people that you can talk to, because you are not alone. You're not the only person going through this. You're not the only one with difficulties related to gender or sexuality or any of those things. You're not the only ones with potential family conflicts. You're not the only one with confusing, conflicting ideas about gods and religion. And it's just, I mean, I'm encouraged that you're calling in to talk. I'm thrilled. Thank you. And thank you for coming out on Friday. But it's something that's going to take some time. And all I want to do is just, there's a whole bunch of people in chat right now in the stream that are just, you go, Jay, we're on your side. You found a community here, all that stuff. I don't want to blow smoke up your ass, but most of these people who are here on the Friday night are the ones that are here participating a lot of the time. And some of them are in Discords that they would be happy to have conversations with you and perhaps, offer their thoughts and assistance. I've spoken a lot, Jay. I just want to find out, where you're at before we head out for the night.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take up much more of your time, but thanks for your advice. I'm just gonna maybe start talking about my fear of hell with my therapist. Maybe she can help since she's really secular.
Yeah.
That's also another good. Mm-hmm.
I got a story, Jay. I've met atheists who've been atheists for 50 years who were indoctrinated with a fear of hell as a child, and they haven't believed in a God, and yet they can still wake up at night with nightmares of hell. And when they wake up, there's still a lingering concern, and it's all built on this, what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? And what that demonstrates is that the religion that did this to you and to those other people is not interested in demonstrating its truth. It's not interested in demonstrating that there's a God. It's not interested in demonstrating that there's love. it is only using fear to try to terrorize people into compliance. Because there's no parent in the world that could show their love by threatening to torture you. And any God that is weaker than a parent is one that, if they exist, I don't want nothing to do with. What use is it? I got to wait for somebody to demonstrate that this being exists, and then I got to wait for somebody to demonstrate that this being is good, and then I got to have wait for somebody to demonstrate that the fears that were put into me and you and the rest of us were done so not by that being, but by people pretending to speak on its behalf. And if you realize that, if the God of hell is real, he's an immoral monster. And if there's a God who's real, who allows people to be fooled by a fictional immoral monster, that God is morally inferior as well. No God has come along to comfort you and say, the fears that they're putting into your head are not true. That's not me. I love you. I would never do that. No God's done that for anybody. And this is one of the strongest reasons, if I'm going to ever affirm there are no gods, it's not just the argument from inconsistent revelation. It is that if there was a God, why isn't it stepping in to at least say, hi, I'm the real God. All that other stuff is not me. Because if a God exists and he's not correcting the harm being done in his name or in name of the concept, he's just as bad. And I recommend listening to Tim Minchin's song, the Pope song, which is incredibly, it uses the F word, I don't know, a gazillion T1 times. But if you go through the lyrics, let me pull it up. The lyrics just start with fuck the motherfucker, fuck, etc. But if you think, fuck you motherfucker, if you think that motherfucker is sacred, if you cover for another motherfucker who's a kitty fucker, fuck you, you're no better than the motherfucking rapist. And so in the same way that Tim Minchin is pointing out, hey, the song, if you're offended by the word fuck, and you're not doing anything about supporting the church that is hiding and supporting these individuals who are sexually assaulting kids, at what point aren't you just as bad? And so if there's a God out there that is not coming to your aid, not doing anything to alleviate the fears that were put into you by false gods, how is that God any better or any more moral than the one that they say you should be afraid of? I'm not going to be afraid of any of them, Jay.
That's a good point. Give me a lot to
We
think
hope that was.
about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it's a lot to think of. Keep reaching out, keep thinking, find some community somewhere, including here, if you're comfortable with that. And if you're not, that's fine. You got to be you, and ain't none of us know what that's like, and ain't none of us can tell you that you're doing it wrong. All we can do is encourage you to keep being you, and to find the people who will love you and care about you for being you, instead of only loving you if you become who they want you to be.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time. You and Mandisa have a wonderful night.
Thanks, Jay.
You do the
too.
same.
Okay.
Stay strong.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
All right. Wow, it's a wild way to end the show, because there's so many people dealing with so much. It's one of the reasons
Really,
why I'm
there
a little
is.
frustrated with the intellectual elites, with the people who are professors or want to be professors, engaging in, well, philosophically, so and so said that such and such is this way, And in this
Right.
particular instance, we know that this is at least possible or probable under a Bayesian analysis of the perversion of humanity. You know, it's dumb.
Right.
If there's a God and it's not stepping up to say, hi, I'm God, and all those others are liars, it is complicit.
Then, right. Right. You're absolutely right.
Hey,
And all
producer
the what
lady,
ifs in the world. Mhm.
Yes.
throw that graphic up, because we went off on a couple of sidetrack issues here. We want to remind everybody, Mandisa is not just here because she's awesome, which is always true, but because we are trying to help bring awareness to Black Nonbelievers Revival of Reason Homecoming Convention, which is happening March 21st through 23rd this year in the Atlanta area. There's a list right there. Chris Cameron, Cynthia McDonald, Candace Gorman, Nikki G, Mandisa Thomas, Kyria Santa, Jeremiah Kamara, and who's your keynote speaker, Mandy? I'm so excited.
Yes, it is Nigerian humanist activist Mubarak Bala. So he will be our keynote speaker. And there are virtual, you can register to attend in person and online.
You can't play spades online, though.
No, you can't. But, yeah. So
I mean,
if
you can.
yes. But it's not the
that.
same. You don't get it's not the same experience.
If you are one of the many thousands of people who are watching this show at the end and you missed the opening, go back and listen to that. Mandisa gives all the details on all the great speakers and participants in this event, where you can find them, but also right down below, right down there. And we're not going to be reading super chats tonight, but right down below down there are links, and you can find not just the link to the call-in studio to call the show and to support the line at linemerch.com, but specifically to Black Nonbelievers. There's a link there for Black Nonbelievers CCon. There's a link down there for the Revival Reason, and there's a link down there for their membership page. If you are looking for a community that deals with the religious issues from something beyond the de facto cis, het, white, boring philosophy, let's argue perspective, of which I am your Lord and Savior, I encourage you to check out blacknonbelievers.org. And if you're able to go to that event in Atlanta, please go and report on it. Let everybody here know, hey, this is what it did for me. This is how it helped me. Even if it not a single speaker said anything during this that you found value in, I guarantee you're going to find value in something there, even if it's just meeting other people so that you can interact outside of the online space.
You most certainly will.
Real quick,
you absolutely will.
Matt, we discussed, we talked about whether or not we do it, but we didn't come to a decision. I think I put up in the initial pinned message that we were going to read super chats. So
okay.
I just didn't want people to get ripped off. I'm
sorry. Let me pull up the thing. I'll be happy to do the super chats. I got it wrong. And so
also we didn't promote BNCCon, but I know it's a ways
literally
away.
just did.
Well, sure, but I didn't put up the flyers, is what I mean to say.
Oh,
I know Mandisa will be back before then, but I just wanted to make sure that we got these
Woohoo!
for everybody.
Yes.
Get your ass on a cruise. All right.
Yes.
Now we can do the super chats that I said we weren't going to do, but I'm not in charge of shit and I get it wrong all the time. So I'll go first and then we can alternate. $5 from Jamaro Ritchie. Love the show. Thank you so much. My apologies if I mispronounce your name.
All right. Next, we have $11 from Stop Hate. Matt, just found your bald head 2 weeks ago. Been binge watching. Love all of your conclusions about organized religion. I don't like human sacrifices. Extions love human sacrifices. Yes, they do.
And also, I love when Catholics tell me that the Eucharist turns into the actual body of Jesus, because then I want to know, am I eating toenail, foreskin, a bit of back hair? Who knows? Butthole. $5 from Robin Webster. Watching Mandisa kick Hoven's butt was a major highlight of this year. Such a classy woman to represent the Black and atheist communities. Truth.
Thank you, Robin. And thank you to everyone who is still watching that debate. I definitely feel like I took one from the team for that one, but it helped get our YouTube channel monetized. And so that was helpful. So,
that's nice.
Yeah. So I don't know which currency this is.
Euros.
Euro. Okay, €5 from Marty Capadevila Giavoto. Where can we contribute financially to Mubarak? Please donate to Black Nonbelievers because we are putting together a support system. We are looking to actually contribute directly to Mubarak. Please do donate to Black Nonbelievers. And the link is in the chat.
Speaking, you mentioned getting the YouTube channel monetized. For those who aren't aware, there was a guy named Logan who called in to Transatlantic Call-In show the other day, or yesterday, and he started emailing me and making accusations about how I'm all just in it for the money, which I found was very funny since just this week, within the last week, I received my first ever check from Google for my personal YouTube channel. Prior to that, when I worked for the atheist community of Austin, I was a volunteer. I'm not allowed to be paid. I've never been paid for any of the stuff that I did with them. I was paid here for the line. But the people who are like, oh, Matt's just in it for the money. Yes, whatever. That's why I'm broke. And I just finally, at nearly 200,000 subscribers, finally decided to finish and get my first check for monetization. But I want to mention this. Not only do I stream on Twitch, but this coming Tuesday, I will be streaming, I hope, assuming there are no tech issues, for all the day on Twitch and on YouTube. Because first of all, I'd like to push towards 200,000 subscribers on my personal channel. I'm like at 196, 197, something like that. And I figured doing some kind of live event would maybe do that. Also, now that my channel is properly monetized, you guys can come over there and talk to me. Tell me what you want to see from the channel, what you don't. I'm probably going to be playing a lot of games. I'll probably talk about some snakes. We may be able to take calls and get people in a debate. And this computer that runs all of this is starting to show its age and is having some problems. So we're going to be working to see if we can't raise me some funds to replace my primary machine here. But that's not the biggest reason. You know, you can come over and give me money if you want, but primarily come over and hang out and see if we can't drive up some subscribers, because that's important.
Right. And before we go to the next super chat, Matt, I'd just like to say that, you know, we understand that, you know, being raised in religion was financially draining and taxing for people. Yes. But if you consider anything of value as a resource, especially the way Matt conveys his position, if you like the way I convey my position, and if you appreciate the way we do our work, it needs support. Like Matt just mentioned an aging computer. I have my computer is aging as well. You know, there are things that we need in order to be able to do this work. And it is important that even a few dollars from 200,000 subscribers, if they gave you $5, that would help exponentially.
If 200,000 people gave me $5, my brain can't even process that.
As a matter of fact, for everyone watching and for everyone who will be watching this in the future, like, our new membership includes a lifetime option. We would love it if 100 people became lifetime members at $500. And individual memberships is $25 a year. I mean, my goodness.
Yep.
I'm not sure if we're asking. I know for some people it is a struggle, but really, if you appreciate the content, if you appreciate the work, please support us.
$5. Speaking of support, thank you very much, Zereth Moonpaw. I'd totally lose to you, Matt. I've got tells so big blind folks can see them. Yeah, I played poker. I supplemented my income with poker. Spades. Somebody asked earlier, you know, if kind of which was preferable or whatever else. And to me, poker is a fairly peaceful game. Hold'em's a fairly peaceful game. And spades is about showing you who's fucking boss.
Yes.
You can make money. You can make money playing spades. And I made money playing spades while I was in the Navy as well, because ain't nothing sailors like to do on that boat when they're bored more than gamble, especially on like cards and stuff. But it's a different beast. And I greatly appreciate your support there, Zareth. Here we go. We got a lot of super chats.
All right. Next up, it is $9.99 from LA Silver Surfers. Just thank you very much.
Yep. $10 in alleged money from Emerald. The "but we don't let pregnant women drink" argument is so strange. If someone's in your house, you can kick him out whenever, but you can't drug him if you let him stay just because it's your house. Correct.
Right.
That's actually really, really good, Emerald. I hope we didn't gloss over that too quickly, other than just like, yes, I completely agree.
Right. So DeLorean 237 sent the $9.99 super sticker. Thank you so very much for that. Or
$10 from Space Wizard.
Sorry, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Oh, Classy is our moderator. She was basically saying that DeLorean sent in that super sticker. So $10 from Space Wizard. We should make a technology to move that fetus in man's belly. Then we'll have a drive-through abortion.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't actually give them, it's going to be either it has to come out, you got to get a C-section. You have to, got to try and poop that thing out. You got to get it out through your ureter. I know that anatomically that's not the way any of this works, but yes, if we're going to joke on, I think what was the joke? If men got pregnant, you get abortion at Starbucks or something?
Right. Yes. They would be so readily available.
Was this from me? Yeah. $5 for Monkey Typewriter. You two make a fantastic hosting pair. I'm on daddy duty, so I can't play around and chat. Here's a good show. Always love seeing Mandisa and your gay homie. Thank you. I want to know what daddy duty is.
He has a son.
Dad.
I know, but I like to have some fun.
Yeah, I was supposed to read that. It didn't come through on my end, so I'll take the next two if that's okay.
Go for it.
Okay. So did it come through yet, or I still
if
see
you're
the
looking at
$5 from
vMix,
Monkey Typewriter.
Are you looking at vMix, or are you looking? Okay,
vMix.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why you're behind on vMix, but
yeah. Wait, are you looking at the window where you're logged in, Mandisa, on the browser?
No, I'm looking at the screen. Okay, so I see the next one.
Yeah.
From Rebecca Borg. Okay. So that is 10 euros from Rebecca Borg. Just letting y'all know, I put 3 line mugs, Alyssa promised Matt, in the microwave and the dishwasher multiple times, and they survived. Mugs are usually good in dishwashers, though, aren't they? Or no?
Last year we did our mug competition, and last year they specifically said not dishwasher safe, and so we moved to a different type of mugs for people, so that way they can use the dishwasher. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. That was interesting because I know most mugs are ceramic, but things change.
It's worth noting that the 3 mugs they decided on was mine, Promises, and Alyssa's. So all the rest of you line hosts can suck it.
That is too funny. Okay, so I'm waiting for the next one to come through.
Should be up.
Okay. Here we go. $10 from Maura Bannister. # Team Mandisa. Woohoo! Thank you, Maura.
Who ain't? Hello, I had Team Mandisa. $10 from Exodus Brothers. Time cannot be created because the act of creation requires a sequence of events of before and after, which presupposes the existence of time. Yeah, that's a different thing of me saying that existence and action is necessarily temporal. If something exists for no time, like 0 seconds, that is identical to not existing. And the same is true, as you note, Exodus, with any sort of creative event where one thing happens to cause another, there must be a temporal connection there. Otherwise, now I get it. Within theoretical physics, there is a concept of cause and effect, simultaneous cause and effect, but it's basically using a different time reference. But all right.
Okay. So can we see? I can't see the next one just yet.
That's so weird.
Uh-oh.
Are you watching the YouTube video?
No, So I got see it now. $10 from JamNick06. I got 8-line mugs lined up across the top of my top of the line range oven. Matt's, Eve's, Alyssa's, John's, Shannon, Paul's, Forrest, and reluctantly Jimmy's. Hashtag fire Jimmy. Hashtag T Mandisa. Hashtag FBMB.
That's Fergal Burger Benerga Burgle. Honey, Jamnik didn't buy your mug.
I know. I'm really offended. Especially, I was like second in the race, and I know now Jamnik's to blame.
Didn't I just lose?
Oh, yeah, you were down towards the bottom.
Yeah, I don't know what the results are, but evidently the people who bought my mugs like to put them up on display and put them in the microwave and the dishwasher and tell us about it. I think they're trying to destroy my mug.
That's funny.
Oh, is this Norwegian? Anyway, from Arsenic 1987. Okay, here's the proof of God. Are you ready? Yes. I hope I have enough characters to write it in the super chat because it's important to explain it right. Okay, don't interrupt. Can you read this? You cut. This is. I just, when callers call in, if you're going to start with, I need to start mentioning this at the top of the show too. If you're going to start with, oh, I love the show and I love what you guys have done. I'm a really big fan and I appreciate what you guys have done. I appreciate that. But the people watching don't. And you didn't. How much would you like the show if every call was, oh, let me tell you how awesome you guys are, and then get to the point. Maybe I'm old. No, I'm definitely old. But maybe I'm old in the sense of I grew up on call-in radio shows. And here's how a call-in radio show worked. Hello, caller. Thank you so much for calling. What is your question? First, let me start by saying, no, we need to get to your question right away. If you didn't ask your question, you were done. And in call-in radio shows, it wasn't back and forth. It was you get to ask your question, and then you're done. You just listen to the answer offline. We've built a model where people are closer to being co-hosts because the discussions are valuable. But what's not valuable? Mandisa and I will talk each other up to anybody and everybody all the time. I really don't need callers calling in to talk about, hey, before I start, let me just tell you how awesome you and Mandisa are. We know. I'm trying to come up with new ways to actually say it, but yes, Ian Colson, $10. We need more Mandisa and truth.
And you can. I am always here. I am around at BN. I am. All over the place. So yes, but I really, really appreciate being on the channel with Matt and Arden. And so, I'd absolutely love to be on more. So we'll talk about that. But,
Amen.
$10. Yeah. $10 from Mr. Boricua 10. David, good grief. You're more than dishonest, almost criminally. Matthew, woe to all that passed before me. Thomas, keep trucking. Take your time. You're good. Jay, have more hugs and my empathy. Thank you for that.
$10 from Ian Colson. Jay, there are people here who will be there for you. This call is why we'll never stop supporting this channel. The good that comes from it is so amazing to see. It's, I talk about Wednesday being my therapy. I don't do a lot of the hostility and I don't do a lot of the Friday night ones. But if we get a good mix of calls where we can have a discussion about something and maybe help somebody, I would do shows every day. And that kind of goes for the caller. It's like, how do you guys keep doing it? I'll tell you how. I don't know how to not do it. When somebody
Right.
says, would you like to come on and take calls and talk about whether or not there's a God? If there's a God, I damn sure want to know. And if there's not, and if there's no good reason, I want to disabuse people of the notion that they have good reason, because that is freedom.
It really, really is. I'll take the next super chat if it's up on the screen.
It's up.
Okay. It just must be delayed on my end.
That is so strange.
Yeah. I'm still looking for it. Here we go. $5 from Jane Hayer or Higher. Please learn to say, I love you to yourself. Caring deeply for myself has made a huge difference for me, and we're all individually worth the effort. Yeah, that is so true. Unfortunately, religious indoctrination conditions people to keep looking for love outside, and you can't find that unless you find it from within. So you are absolutely right about that, Jane.
Your second one is up.
Okay.
I did it.
No.
I did it early so I could bypass the delay.
Oh no. Okay. Well, I need to wait for it to come up again on my end. It's being weird.
I think I know what happened, and I almost know how to fix it, but we're almost done.
Okay. It needs to hurry up. Okay, here we
I
go.
think your
All
browser's
right, 20. Yeah, probably. Don't laugh at me, Matt. But $20 from Cynthia McDonald. Hey, Matt, Arden, and Mandisa, send in love. Hey, sis.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
That is awesome. So good to hear from you. I've got $5 from Aliashana Silverbow. I'm on a whiskey diet. I've lost 3 days already. Come back again, Mandisa. I don't know if anybody's super chats ever make me laugh as frequently or as hard as Aliashana's does.
No, I definitely saw that.
I will vamp during the pause. When you see it come up, you can go ahead and jump right in on it, but definitely your turn.
Okay. All right. Come on my screen. All right. Here we go. Oh, $100 from Red Shrek. Does Black non-believers do any outreach to atheists in Africa? We do. Even though we are a US-based nonprofit organization, we do connect with, like, for example, we have connected with Mubarak. We definitely want to sufficiently help Mubarak, which is why he is one of the reasons why he's on one of our speakers at the Revival of Reason. And also I had the opportunity to travel to Lagos, Nigeria, in October for the first African Free Thought Music and Arts Festival, which was spearheaded by Dr. Leo Igwe and his program director, Dominic Inge, from the Advocacy for Alleged Witches. And we actually have been strengthening our connections with humanists and atheists across the African diaspora. We are connected with the Association of Black Humanists, which is based in London. There's a Humanist of Ghana. There's groups in South Africa. There's atheists in Kenya. So yeah, there are all types of groups that we are connected to and allied with. And yes, the more y'all can support, be indirectly, we can become that hub for those organizations that are across the diaspora. So I am asking everyone who is watching live and also who will be watching later, again, please do support the work of Black non-believers so that we can continue to support and collaborate with groups all across the globe.
All right. Whoops. $10 from Elison. My small contribution for y'all to keep doing what you do. Thank you so much. If this one doesn't pop up quick, I might just crank through a couple and let you comment on them afterwards, because it seems that whatever part of vMix is incredibly delayed.
Okay, here we go. I got $200 from Ryan P. Just getting on now and didn't get to watch any of the show live. I'll catch the replay later. Let's get Mandisa and Durante their own regular show on the line. Here's some seed money. We
I cannot
Durante,
promise anything, but I have zero objection.
Yeah, I mean, we featured Durante on our channel. I know Durante has his own channel. But I mean, everything is there. Things are a possibility.
We can all do more.
Yeah.
I tell you, that's encouraging though, because here's somebody who didn't watch the show. For all Ryan knows, this show was awful. We said stupid things. We were hurtful and harmful or whatever else. And it, despite not getting to watch any of the show live and watching a replay, is confident enough in what we do and what Mandisa does and what Black Non-Believers do, to be supportive. And that's great. One might call it a not a leap of faith, but a rational expectation based on a previous history of events.
Correct. We have demonstrated that we do some we make really awesome appearances together. And the Eminem duo rocks.
That's a truth. All right. $10 from Mr. Boricua. To Matt's point, haven't believed in 15 years, still think of hell, but have learned to fear heaven more. I fear having to be there for all time. Plus, hell has spades and morally superior people. Yes.
Right. The one thing I always said, the one thing I always said, like when I was growing up, because, I wasn't formally raised religious, but when I would think about like the concept of heaven and hell, I'm like, hell seems to be the better option.
Yeah. This next one is for you when it pops up.
All righty. All right. Wow. $250 from Red Shrek. I beat Ryan P. I win. Whoa.
Well, if we're going to have a competition, right now I can say Red Shrek is winning. And then when we go to the next one, it's Ryan P donating $50.01 and saying, I beat Red Shrek, we all win. True. That is.
Yes.
It's amazing. The next one's coming into you from Perch Dragon when you see it.
All right. Here we go. $10 from Perch Dragon. Yeah, I know Perch Dragon. Much love from the Secular Fam in Phoenix. Chat, please look up online groups to edify yourselves and build community. Much love to Mandisa. Yes, and there is a very, very thriving humanist community out in Phoenix. And definitely check them out. There are definitely organizations and groups that are available. And there's definitely something that can fit you. So, yes.
Awesome. $60 from Red Shrek. I concede, Ryan P. That's a good way to concede, except that it puts you back in the lead. I'm sensing a trend, and I ain't fucking mad at all.
Man, geez. I'm not mad at that at all. I'm not mad either. That's pretty nice.
All right. I'm trying to pop them up faster so that when you get the delay, they're closer together. But there you go.
I got you. $5 from AZ Kim. Thank you all for everything you do. I don't know how Matt doesn't go crazy debating all the crazies out there. Everyone on this show is so smart. I would agree.
Well, I'm not convinced that I haven't gone crazy, but I appreciate the sentiment. $60.01 from Ryan P. Red Shrek, next round starts now. Here's $1 for each of the troll calls lately. Can't let the trolls win. True. You guys are amazing. I'm digging the competition, but I'm especially encouraged that, you know, we're continuing to inspire people with confidence towards us doing the right thing and helping other people get to where they're doing the right thing. So thank you guys a ton. I'm sure that was really fun to watch in chat. I wasn't able to watch chat as you guys were dealing with donations, but it was definitely fun to watch here. And greatly
Yeah, so I
appreciate
see. Yes, so I see $5 from AJ Bell. Mandisa, I got family in Jonesboro. Yes, which is right next door. Hope to see you at the event. I will be there. Love you all. Yes, come on out. We are going to have a fantastic time. So yes, please register and come on out to the event. We'd love to have you.
And unless somebody else decides to join the competition between Ryan P. and Red Shrek, this $5 from Skeptoidius is going to be the final super chat of the day. Mandisa is awesome. True. I hope we get to see her again soon. You will. Matt, you hunkalicious man muffin. I'll take it. Yeah, that's right, Arden. Hashtag Team Mandy Matt. And no sooner had I said that than, oops. Then we got more coming in.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. What's the next one?
It's from Cynthia, so it should pop up for you in a moment.
Delays be darned. Jeez. Okay, another $20 from Cynthia. I can't compete with Ryan nor Red Shrek, but everyone go to Black Nonbelievers and donate. Like this next in the cut, please and thank you. Yes, and right now.
Boom.
You can
20 pounds.
You can do. Yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
No. It's the delay also created a gap where there probably wasn't one, but 20 pounds from Michael Corleone. Hell is the better option. Jimi Hendrix is on harp tonight. Ooh, that would be cool. On that note. Oh,
okay. I see.
I'm going to
I see
save a
that
minute because
one.
this is on a delay, but $5 from the Raven 200. But see, this is what happens. And I would stay here and do this all night, but please save some of your super chats for the other shows that are coming up on the Line Network. This has been wonderful and encouraging. I just want to note that the schedule that I listed, we will have additional updates, but the next show on network that we know of, unless Jimmy or somebody decides to do Cus I Wanna or a Hostility that's unscheduled tomorrow night, is the Sunday show at 2 p.m. Central with Forrest Valkai and Eve, or Promise. And then the Sunday show after dark will be myself and Owen Morgan. We look forward to seeing all of you then. We appreciate everybody's support and your time. Please give your consideration to Black Nonbelievers and the Revival of Reason event. Love you guys so much. Oh my goodness. I just saw something come in, but you guys have, oh no, wait. Oh, no. Up. It's time to end the show. We got up. It's cutting up. Sorry, I was messing with Arden. Just because I knew we needed to wrap up and everything else. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to our call screeners, moderators, and to Arden Hart down the hall for producing. Huge thank you to Mandisa for joining us this week. And all the best to Black Nonbelievers and your convention upcoming. I'm sorry that I have a conflicting event, but somebody's getting married and it's somebody that I care about. We'll see you all later.